Welcome to Truth Talk. It's that time again. Yup, local elections are right around the corner, and we are here to give you all insight on candidates who are wanting your vote to lead in our community. Voters can look at these episodes as job interviews. These candidates are applying, and we, the voters, will decide who to hire. But you have to get out and vote. So let's get started, and please, don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for other upcoming episodes and stay informed.
All right, thanks everybody for joining Truth Talk. Today I have Brittney Garcia-Dumas. Did I say that right?
Yes, very close. Brittney Garcia-Dumas, no S.
Dumas. No, okay, Dumas. Okay, it's spelled with an S. But
it is, yeah.
So, okay, great. All right, so I wanted to have an opportunity to talk to you. You are running for City Council District 5. Mm-hmm. And so what I've been doing is, you've been at the forums. And when I ran for office, it was like, you got to hurry up. You got to hurry up and give those answers. And sometimes I know when I would walk away, it's like, oh, man, I should have said this. I should have added that or whatever. But this is an opportunity for the constituents to get to know the candidates. Mm-hmm. And so to really dig deep and dive into who is Brittney and why is she running? Mm-hmm. And also we're going to talk about some of the things that you've already heard a lot of questions at some of the forums, but this is just going to go a little bit deeper.
Great.
So, hi.
Hi.
So I just wanted to talk to you, and I just would like for you to, who's Brittney?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Brittney Garcia-Dumas. I'm running for City Council District 5, born and raised here in Arlington. I am part of 3 generations of AISD students. So love Arlington. I had my first grade teacher here at Little Elementary. I had my first job here. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we're getting the squeakies out.
It's okay.
I had my first job at a restaurant that is now a mattress store in Arlington.
Okay.
And the trivia we like to play is for people to ask me after the forums, to guess after the forums where they think that is. The restaurant that is now currently a mattress store.
Ah, okay.
I'll ponder on it. But, I swam in all of our community pools. I grew up going to all of our parks. I just absolutely love Arlington. And so I went to college, traveled the world. I was a military spouse for a decade. And so I was in Spain. I lived in Spain and Alaska and been to Marrakesh and all sorts of places around the world. And when I had kiddos, a lot of us, we want to be more around family. So the grandparent effect is very real.
Yeah.
So we came back and I started my business, BGD Digital Marketing, so I own a marketing agency. Mm-hmm. I now also own a clothing store here in Arlington. It's called the Arlington Shop. It's all things Arlington. Mm-hmm. I used to say it's things you wouldn't find at Buc-ee's, but people really love Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Then I started saying it's stuff you wouldn't find at a gas station. And Buc-ee's and a gas station are 2 very different things.
Yeah, they
apparently.
are. Yeah.
And so started my businesses and started looking around at Arlington again and realized that, wow, Arlington, Texas is the best place on earth to have a small business.
Yeah.
So moved back here in 2020 and have been here ever since and love it. I live in downtown with my 2 kiddos, and they love to ride their bikes, all around downtown. I tell people when I was growing up, when I was in high school, this is going to date me. In 2006, I couldn't drive past Abrams and Cooper. That was my no-fly zone, right? Because just think of what downtown was in 2006,
Huge change now.
And so now my children learn to ride their bikes on the Levitt Pavilion lawn. And so to see what we've been able to do as a city in such a short period of time has been so, so tremendous. And so from Arlington, love Arlington. I'm Brittney from Arlington, Texas. And so when I had my business here, when I moved it here, I started getting very involved civically. I was involved in the chamber, on the CVB board. I got on the downtown board. I just started seeing, I think that we could do better for our residents. I noticed that Arlington had taken a big swing towards visitor experiences. You know, when I left and, you know, when I graduated high school, we didn't even have the Dallas Cowboys here. And so
Right.
it was a very different Arlington. And I'm running for a Residents First Arlington. I believe that our people are our best asset, that Arlington is special and unique on its own. I tell people that Arlington, Texas is hometown USA, and I want my hometown to be your hometown. And you know, if we're going to go forward to a Residents First Arlington, we have to have stronger policy that shows what we really care about.
So when you say resident first, I mean, give me some examples what you mean by that, resident first.
Right. So a couple of examples of that. So when we look at the commercial that we've brought online, the large commercial property, also we look at how we protect our public spaces like green space, our parks, our libraries, our schools, all of that kind of stuff. And then our resident experience. So one, when we've brought in this large commercial, we have provided a tremendous amount of tax abatements to get this large commercial here. And
The entertainment district, yeah.
yeah, correct. And so in going on, I went on a study tour with the executive board of downtown, and we went up to Arlington, Virginia, and George Washington University, like some of these downtowns up in the Washington, D.C. area, who were having these tremendous economic booms that were very similar to Arlington about 10, 15 years ago. And we asked them, like, how did you get Amazon here? How did you get these large corporate businesses here? What did you give them? And their response was, what did we give them? No, they gave us this and this and this and this. Amazon's building a pedestrian bridge for us between our city and our airport. Amazon has done this. They've done like all of these things for the residents. And they said, if you're going to come here, this is what you're going to do for us. And it was their city leadership that held them to that account. And in my opinion, we have not done enough of that with our corporate and commercial partners that I do believe love Arlington and are very happy to be here. So making sure that we're not, giving $1 million in tax abatements and then wondering why we have millions of dollars in deficit. The next example is, again, protecting our public spaces like our parks, our schools, our libraries. I believe that we have to have a stronger relationship between the city and our school. I
agree with that.
Yes, we are in dire need of younger families to move here. And one of the biggest ways to get a young family to move here is to have a really great school system. And so...
Yeah, because we're C-rated right now. And
right.
I think the 26 of C-rated average. Because 26 of the schools, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the elementaries that are like in Fs. And it's like, okay, what's going on? That's not a good thing.
Sure.
That is not a good thing. And so, yes, I would agree with that you definitely have to have a strong partnership and to make sure, because it all interconnects. It all interconnects when you're talking about real estate and then, of course, affordable housing, but yet not apartments. That's the other thing. So let me just dovetail into that. So what are your thoughts about the apartments? I mean, I know that we're landlocked, and so we really can't expand. I know we have a lot of things that maybe we can repurpose. So what are your beliefs or your strategy when it comes to, apartments or affordable housing?
Sure. So I'll first say that I was an apartment kid. And look at where I am, in my opinion, an apartment is a home for someone. And so we need to look at affordable housing, capital A, and affordable housing, lowercase a. So when you look at capital A, those are federally funded homes, where we're seeing vouchers and things like that for some of our homes here in Arlington. And I do not believe that is a bad thing, but I absolutely want people to have the gift of home ownership. I believe everybody should be able to have that. And so when you look at apartments, I believe that they belong in our densest areas of our city. And in an amazing way, that is downtown. That is our District 5. And so with SB 840 passing, what we need to do additionally is say, okay, where should we put apartments and where should we not put apartments? How does this fit into the puzzle of our city? And so even in District 5, we have a great example of that. And that I will say very honestly, I want large scale density in our downtown. We have 23% of our downtown that is currently in redevelopment or development, and that's great news. So to the east and the west of City Hall, we're going to have new multifamily living. Hopefully that will be mixed use and have a lot of great things, on that bottom floor where we'll see retail and things like that. But when you look at having apartments in your densest part, what you want to do is have a block by block lowering of that height, right? So that even in just 3 blocks distance, you get to single family living. A great example of this is McKinney. They've done a really good job of this, ensuring that their downtown still does have these single family homes that are very cute. They're historical homes, and those homes go for $1 million down there, And so we have those things. We just have to plan appropriately. I absolutely hear from the residents that there are some places that they do not want apartments, and I agree with them. I agree that we must preserve our single family communities. Even in District 5 alone, we have Heart of Arlington Neighborhood Association. I've talked to them about putting a preservation overlay. I know that that's a big thing that Derek Carter has talked about with the president of Hannah. I support that tremendously and want to help them do that. I actually live in Hannah because we have to retain the character of those single family communities as well as build for density in the proper places.
Yeah, and to your point, that law that came out, that's kind of a scary one because they're bypassing that law. If we're not working with them, they really don't need our permission. They can build wherever they want, and that's kind of scary because they could stick something up wherever a commercial building is and put an apartment there, low income housing apartment. And so that, I don't know how that got through, but it did. But definitely that's something that to me, it's people from the city council need to show up.
Right.
And in Austin and say, this is not good. You're taking away our authority for the requirements. And so you can't just build whatever you want, and they can. Right now, they can. And if city council says no, you're not meeting the requirement. This is not what you can do. They can turn around. Well, then I'm just going to pull the trigger on the law, and I'll do what I want. So that's not a good thing. So that's something. I think it's best to perhaps work with the developers to try to minimize that kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely, I agree. It is a huge federal overreach, in my opinion. Yeah. Something about me is I am a constitutional politician. I am a Declaration of Independence politician, for the people, local control over local matters. And so SB 840 at the state level, you got to wonder, who thought this was a really great idea? And we're going to find out, and we will have a conversation. And the heart behind it was for affordable housing. We have to build more affordable housing. So I agree with that. I agree with the idea that affordability in housing is a crisis. That even, in our apartments in downtown at 101 Center, a 2-bedroom apartment there is $2,100. That's not affordable housing, and it's an apartment. And so we have to, that's why I say capital A, lowercase a. We have to separate this idea that every apartment complex is going to be low income, affordable housing. And even in that regard, when we have SB 840 allowing, developers to build these apartments, that doesn't mean that it's actually going to end up being affordable for people. And so my dad used to say it's the right ta-ta, but the wrong ho-ho. It's the idea behind it is good. Affordability is a crisis and it must be solved for everyone, especially the next generation of people who also deserve home ownership. But I don't believe that SB 840 is the way. And I believe that with time, we will see how ineffective that law.
That's going to be, it'll be interesting. Okay, so let me jump into some of the questions that I have here.
Those weren't some of the questions?
No, that's just the beginning.
Okay, all right. Buckle up, baby.
Okay, buckle up. All right, so let's talk about budget discipline. So Arlington faces competing priorities. So what specific trade-offs would you make in a city budget within your first year? What would be your focus? Because there was a shortfall, and I know, the city council did a great job in making sure that we ended up in the black, but there was just, taxes had to be raised though. So what would be your focus to make sure that we have a healthy budget?
So, in sitting on the boards that I sit on, I'm able to get a little bit of look into where money is going, how money is coming in, where money is going. I sit on the CVB board, and so I'm able to see some of that hot tax and how much that is, where that goes, where that's appropriated. We operate in an emergency state often with our budget, and we got to stop doing that. That is a good idea in a pinch. I'm an entrepreneur, so I know that sometimes things, go up and down, but you have to have a baseline of a black and white budget, knowing that something may happen. You can't plan for everything, but what our budgeting system does right now is, we need money for this. We're going to pull from over here and put this here, and then we're going to pull from here and then put this here and then move this back. We've just operated like that as a way of life at this point. We have to stop. And so there's a couple of questions that I have on day one in City Hall of, I want to know where this money is. I want to know where this money is. Specifically for TERS 7 that's in District 5, that money is supposedly, the tax increment increase is going into a fund. I want to know where that money is. I want to know how much money is in there, because we have to be sure that we are respecting the taxpayer dollar and where we're putting it. And so that's my big question with the budget is it's no surprise that when you operate like that with your budget so often, there's an oopsie. There's we don't have enough money. And so that's my main priority, is a more black and white budget that is accountable to the taxpayer.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about public safety strategies. So beyond the funding piece of it, what structural changes would you implement to improve public safety?
So Chief Jones and Chief Sinham at the police department and fire department have done an incredible job. And I'm sure overall of Arlington, crime is down 13%. And I've met with Chief Jones, I've met with Chief Sinham and asked them, where are the shining stars within our police and fire, as in what programs are working, what things are you seeing success in the long term, but then also what is not working. And one of my main focuses is, are the police happy? Are the firefighters happy? Because that's what I want. I ask any police and fire that I see, are you happy? And if you're not, what would make you that way? Because we have to have happy civil servants here in Arlington. In talking to Chief Jones, I also meet with the beat cops that are in District 5, and I ask them specifically about certain areas. I say, okay, again, what's working, what's not working. And what Chief Jones has done in his time has truly been incredible. The way that he has brought in the community, the way that now we have Arlington police officers that are able to go into communities that are historically, for good or for bad, they don't want to be around a police officer. And we see less and less of that as we move forward because of Chief Jones and what he is able to do in the community. I see our police and fire showing up for all of our communities across Arlington, and especially these communities that they know that it can be a little sticky. Our police and fire they don't have to do that, but they do, and they do that under the leadership of our current police and fire chief. And so continuing to provide them support. I ask Chief Jones and Chief Sinham all the time, what do you need? I just met with the police and the fire and said, what do you need? And I've heard some feedback about different things that would make life
Well, I know that they had a
easier.
short, and I mean cut you off, but it was last year that we had a meeting, and one of the police associations came, and they mentioned about that they have one police officer for every 1,000 people, which is like crazy to me, as well as they were short like 80 cars. And I mean, I know that they do have the drones and things like that right now, which apparently is a great program. But, you know, there's still some needs in that area. So is that something that you think that you would, if you were elected, like, okay, what can we move around, or how can we provide this, or what? I mean, I'm sure that they look at all that. I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, we need more manpower, women power as well within our police and fire. That is something that I do hear consistently. It would be great to have more people. And I think we forget a lot that our police and fire are focused in on our entertainment district when we have these large events. That takes a tremendous amount of lift from our police and fire. And that's where we're getting that we need so many more, because what ends up happening, not all the time, but what ends up happening is we pull police and fire from our neighborhoods to go into the entertainment district for these events. We can't have that. Our neighborhoods were here before those events, and they'll be here after.
But
our residents deserve
how do we
that.
keep it safe, though? Because, I mean, you think about the World Cup coming here. And I know they have plans and everything, but we're going to have to pull on resources because that's a lot of people that are going to be here. So, and you're right. I mean, more headcount would work. But until then, I mean, how do you fix that?
Yeah, I think that that's something that the residents need to realize when they go to vote, and when we're looking at what the entertainment district looks like and we're bringing in new things, that more things in the entertainment district means more of a pull on those types of resources. It's a great gain in some other areas, especially with our hot tax, but these are things that the residents really need to, be informed on and be thinking about as we're looking at adding more things like that. I mean, we're going to have to continue to have more police and fire as we continue to grow as a city.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so let's talk about infrastructure prioritization. So what criteria would you use to prioritize infrastructure projects when the funding is limited? So what would be your priority?
Yeah, so I know that this is a hot topic for a lot of our residents because we have roads in Arlington that are used more often, but that doesn't mean that these areas deserve more love than the roads that are not used as often, specifically in our, more suburban areas of Arlington. And, I think that it looks like we have to do a better job at making sure that the infrastructure, including our roads and, our resident services and facilities, are kept in line and not consistently pushed back because, again, of something else in the entertainment district. And I don't believe that the entertainment district is, a negative. It's definitely a positive. We all know that an event in the entertainment district helps fund a road in South Arlington, But what ends up happening is kind of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And that's what I mean when I say a residents first Arlington. That wheel it keeps squeaking. And no matter how much grease we put on it, it just keeps squeaking. And so then the residents' infrastructure gets put further and further back in the queue.
Right.
We just, as a city council, we just can't allow that. And there is going to have to be a point where we say, our residents are going to have priority. This must be fixed. This must remain in the queue to have those infrastructure upgrades. And that's just going to be the way that it is.
Okay. All right. So now I know that the largest real estate holder is AISD. And my understanding is that, because I've asked them, I'm like, how come you guys just don't sell it to the city so that they can use that land? So, they have a lot of land. They're the largest land holder, and they're not doing anything with them. And so you have plots that may be 10 acres big or 5 acres big. I mean, they can't build a school or anything on those. I believe there is something in the law, I'm not sure, where, like, who gets first dibs, and I think it would be like a charter school or something like that. So would this be something that you would look into to see, how can we change that? Because if there's some land out there that you guys aren't using or can't use, we can use it. So is that something that you would pursue?
We as in the city? So the idea is that AISD needs to give up some of its land to the city.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, they could sell it. They could, in my mind, you sell it, let's just say they have a 10-acre plot that they can't build anything on, but they're holding on to it, and we don't get any property taxes on it.
And where is that, the 10-acre plot?
They're all over, everywhere. And so,
what's like the closest one? Where would
I don't know the closest one. I just know that they have the largest amount of real estate under their belt. And so if they can't use it, definitely there needs to be a discussion there to talk about, okay, can this be sold? Why are you holding on to it? What are the rules in order to get that sold? Because if you have 10 acres that you can't use, can we develop it into affordable housing? And then you sell it, pay some of your debt off, and get property taxes in addition too. So I didn't know if you knew that, but that may be something that there needs to be some serious conversation about.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a big fan and supporter of AISD. I'm supporting the bond that will be in the May 2nd election. And you're supporting the bonds. And I understand, one of the trustees talked about it, what was involved. But it doesn't really get into the details like the past bonds. So, okay, go ahead. So there's info sessions about each of the bonds. There's actually one on Monday at Arlington High School. And I went to the school board meetings, especially the last one where they did all of the reading for it. And it was very detailed. And so those details are definitely out there. I would look into that because they're great. They're very, very communicative and have our greatest interest for our students and our young families moving forward. So big supporters of them. And when it comes to those plots of land, I mean, AISD doesn't just hold on to land just because. And I know that, for instance, there's a school that we closed in District 5, which was Blanton Elementary, and I was with the school board every step along the way, communicating with them, asking them, okay, why are we doing this? What are the specs? What are the details? What happens if we don't? What happens if we do? What are the types of improvements? How much is it going to cost the city? So being in communication with our AISD, which is, one of our huge proponents within the city, is absolutely integral to moving forward as a city. And so I know that is one of the properties that is considered, what do we do with this land now at this point? Will it be up for a charter? And also I do believe it is a misnomer to say, well, if AISD gives back up this land, then it immediately becomes taxable land. It immediately just gets put back on the tax roll and all of this is amazing and we're going to have, property tax.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely. I'd be a huge fan of having even more conversations with AISD about, okay, let's identify these plots of land and figure out what we can do with them. Because what I don't want is I don't believe that there's a future in the city and the school board not being in lockstep. That absolutely has to be there.
Yeah,
that
I agree
friendship
with that.
is so important.
All right, well, let's just jump over to crisis leadership. So, give me an idea what your framework would be for decision making during a city level emergency or crisis.
Like what?
Well, I mean, it could be shortfalls. It could be any kind of an emergency that may happen within the city that may require, hey, we got to move some money over, or just any kind of crisis that the city may face. What is the way when you look at issues? Let me put it this way: what is your framework on what's a priority to make a solid decision? I think we need to go this way, or we need to go that way.
So not just budget crisis.
It can be budget. It can be, let's just say a whole lot of police officers just quit. What are we going to do? So just something like, what would be your way of prioritizing issues and what do we need to look at first? So, I mean, think about in your business, something happened or, you lost several clients or whatever. What is your framework on how to resolve that?
Yeah. People first, always. Residents first, always. How does this affect the residents? So I don't want to use the example of a bunch of police officers quit because we're not going to put that into the atmosphere.
Might not have been the right one, but yeah.
But there's something has happened and we have to fix it. People first, always. How does this affect the residents? Number one. Where is it in Arlington? How does it affect the people around them? How does it affect the residents that are not in the immediate, whatever zone of however this has happened? How is this going to affect them long term? How does this affect them now? How does this affect them financially? How does it affect their families? How does it affect the future of Arlington? These types of things, we have to be residents first. We have to consider our people number one above all things. And you gave the example of in my business, always people first. Something happens within the business. How does this affect the customers? Something happens with the clients. How does this affect my employees? Right? Because after that crisis, we will all remain.
Yep.
We will all have to be residents of Arlington after whatever happens and whatever resolution and solution we come up with. We will all have to live together. And also, I will have to live with myself. I will have to sign Brittney Garcia-Dumas to that day at the end of that day. And I will have to be that for the rest of my life. And so always, when a crisis happens, people first. And how does this affect them? Because I truly believe that great places to live are great places to visit and not the other way around. That our people are our biggest asset and our biggest joy here in Arlington. And when we protect and create ways for them to thrive, it creates a better city. So people first, always.
Okay. All right. I know that you've spoken a lot about pro-transit. So I'd like to get your thoughts on what does that look like and what are you going to advocate for? Now, we do have VIA. Okay, we have that going on. But what is your vision and your strategy on transit for Arlington?
Yeah. So we do have VIA or Arlington On Demand. It's not mass. It's not mass transit. It's a subsidized Uber. It's a subsidized Uber pool, actually. And so you've got a bunch of people that get into a car and then into a van, and then that van can take all these different routes. So it may take you 45 minutes to go somewhere where it would normally, with an actual like uppercase U Uber, it takes you 5 minutes, right? And so it's a Band-Aid. It is not the solution into the future. I also don't believe that buses are a solution into the future. I believe that we've stepped over that in tech and in time. And so what that looks like is high-speed rail. what that looks like is mass transit. And how we're going to do that is we have to have good partnerships with Dallas and Fort Worth. I've already been a part of discussions about high-speed rail, already had conversations with Dallas. They're very interested in a Dallas to Houston rail. And I just think that's because they haven't met enough of us from Arlington to tell them why Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth is actually the most profitable
you're saying
way to go.
you're talking about regional. You're not talking about transit within the city. Is that your stance?
Right. So
Okay.
I would love to have mass transit. I would love if we had a subway system. I would love to have a way for us, me and my 2 elementary aged kids, to be able to get around the city. But I also believe that we have the big goal up here, right? We have the dream, the wildest, craziest dream, right? Arlington's going to have a subway system, and then you live within reality, right? And so that big dream gets you further along. But so I do see high-speed rail as the lowest hanging fruit for us. It's a way for us to attach to mass transit. It's a way for us to honestly get Arlington into the future. When I go on these study tours of these downtowns, we ask them, when was your economic boom, right? These cities were just like Arlington, same size, same economic status about 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. We ask them, when was your economic boom? And every single one of them, without delay, said mass transit. It wasn't one of the economic booms, it was the economic boom. And so mass transit is not only the right thing to do, because our people need to get around, right? We need more walkability. We need more green space. We need to advance as a city. It's not only the right thing to do, it's the profitable thing to do. I want people absolutely, coming from Dallas to Arlington to Fort Worth to Arlington. We have great things here, and I want them to experience it.
Okay. All right. So let me, I'm going down these things pretty quick here. Okay. So everyone that I have interviewed I've asked this question. So what do you think that the council got wrong? In the grand scheme of things, like, okay, you know what, I would have done something different in this situation. So what would that situation be?
Yeah, I have a deep respect for the current council. And I know that I consider all of them friends, even my opponent in the race. I consider them a great friend. And because we all care about Arlington and we all care about people, the way we go about it is different. A lot of the council that is there currently, they were elected very close to COVID or during COVID, and they were really the leaders that we needed at that time. They have incredible hearts, and we needed that style of leadership during that time, and I'm so grateful that we had that. And now that time is over, and we got to step on the gas. And so what I have seen, I'll speak for my current council member in District 5. What I have seen over the last 5 years is that there is a need for us to step on the gas, that District 5 deserves a strong and loud advocate that shows up for them. There have been several votes where District 5 showed up and said, this is what we want. And that current council person did not vote the way that the people wanted. Like I said before, I am a by the people, of the people, for the people. That is how I lead. If the people want this, then this is what we do. We are representation, capital R, lowercase r. And
but what about, because we want a lot of things, right? We want a lot of things, but wouldn't a decision be made on, can we do it? Can we afford it? I know that and I'm just being hypothetical, I know that we want all these things downtown, but can we afford it?
Like what?
Well, let's just say really nice retail. Let's just say a lot of great stores, a Prada, or all these retail things, right? So
Do you
people
think
can be
that?
down there.
Do you think that the majority of District 5 wants a Prada store?
No,
in
no,
there?
I'm just saying. Just different retail stores that are walking distance, especially if you plan on having multi-level apartments and things like that, close to downtown.
Sure, mixed
So,
use. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, you want them to have the ability to, like, you know what, I don't feel like getting in my car and going somewhere. I want to go somewhere downtown, somewhere nice to go eat, a really nice restaurant or whatever. So that may be something that you want, but from the grand scheme of things, like, can we really do it?
Yeah, when I look at what District 5 is asking for, it's not a lot. It really
Okay.
isn't. And,
What are they asking for?
so let's talk about retail in downtown and walkability. So when we want more retail downtown, a lot of what that looks like is we have to look at our city code. Currently, our city code makes it very difficult for our small business owners to get into these spaces, for them to run their business, for them to pull event permits, for them to pull parking permits, all of these different things that are down there. If this is what we want, we have to make it easier for those businesses to thrive. And so, and we've done some of that, right? And but looking at some of the code and making sure that it's easier has just not been done. And so that's one of my priorities that I want to go in and be helpful to. Walkability is something that District 5 is asking for. And, a great example of this is that UTA currently covers, I think it's like 5 million square feet. And they're adding an additional 7 million square feet by 2024 and doubling their green space. So how do you add an additional 7 million square feet and double your green space? Because that's what the students are asking for. They want more green space. Well, they're going up instead of out. And so, and I know that it is substantially more expensive to go up. That's not at all lost on me. But we have a great example of adding in walkability at the UTA level.
Yeah, I saw those
and
drawings.
They're incredible.
Cool looking.
And so marrying the UTA master plan with the downtown master plan, making sure that, again, those connections are being made, that District 5 that encompasses downtown and UTA and all of the residents, it's not just downtown and UTA, right? We have incredible communities and residential homes and things like that. Having that connection, having that strong and loud advocate who can be in those meetings and show up for District 5 and say, okay, how do we overlay UTA master plan with the downtown master plan so that we can work together in lockstep as we're creating a sense of place for the same place, right?
Okay.
If UTA is going to cover it, we don't need downtown to cover it. And in that realm, we don't need the city to cover it because UTA is going to cover it. And so, and talking to the people of District 5, if we're talking about really that economic area, right? We're not talking about, property taxes of those communities. They want a sense of place. They want things to do. They want walkability. Yeah. And that's
I would be downtown if there was a lot more.
I know.
Places are like, well, let's just go downtown and go eat whatever and just walk it. And there's a lot of green area. I mean, that would be nice.
It's an easy ask. Those types of things. And I believe that that's a part of our job is as city leaders to say, okay, this is what they want. How do we give them what they want? Not can we, but how? How could we make this work? How can we be innovative in doing these types of things? One of the great examples that we have of that is we really wanted to pull people, again, into that economically growing area of downtown. And we wanted them to have something to do. We also wanted to advance the arts and culture. We wanted to increase walkability, create a sense of place, all of these things. And so we were sitting in a meeting of downtown and First Thursdays was born. That First Thursdays was an idea that came out of a conversation between Garrett Martin and I. And so then you just build into it. We say, okay, how can we do this? Instead of how can we not give the residents what they want? How is this too much? We say, okay, the residents are asking for this. How? Let's get creative. Let's get clever. Let's be strong and loud and stand up for the people. And then honestly, when I've seen those things through, truly, it hasn't been that hard. It's a low ask. Or people want a place that they can be excited about, and a place that they can be happy to raise a family in. And there's such low hanging fruit for that if you have the perspective that we're putting the residents first.
Okay. All right. So the last two questions, the elephant in the room. As you know, ADO was a big hot topic, and I believe you were like for to keep it. And so, so my question is that if you were on the council and you were the swing vote to keep it, okay, how would you have handled that? Because we are in a political environment where we're seeing funding being taken away. I mean, in other cities. I mean, because of the language. So, how would you, had it passed, if you were the swing vote, how would you have handled the immediate $65 million that they would have taken away and would have caused immediate homelessness to 4,000 residents?
Sure. So I believe when that was investigated with the city lawyers, further investigated with the city lawyers, and then also some lawyers at the Help Center and a couple other lawyers, I believe when that claim was actually investigated, it came up that it was false, that it was not, $65 million was not hanging in the balance. And so, straight away, it's just very important that we make sure that we get make sure that we know what people were saying, and then actually what, the lawyers really determined was true. And so, but even with that, the council removed the current ADO, and they came up with a new one that it kept the existing ADO, and then it said a line at the bottom that said, if any of this is federally illegal, we won't do it, right? And so it covered us in such a great way, and I thought that it was very innovative. It was kind of like it was a great way to handle at a local level what we're seeing federally, right? We're having this federal overreach. How do we handle this? And I thought it was very clever, what we came up with. And then it failed 5-4. And that I will never understand. I will never understand that vote. I've spoken to the council members, including the current council member over District 5, and I will never understand why that vote, why that failed.
Because it can't be enforced. That's why. It couldn't be. The ADO, I mean, there's no legal enforcement. It can't be enforced. I mean, legal came out and even said, we can't even enforce it. There's just no way.
So under the old ADO, there was recourse at the local level for people that felt like they were being discriminated against. And yes, it's a sheet of paper. But that sheet of paper says your city cares about you. That sheet of paper says we are residents first. And so what I don't understand was we had a new ADO that fit with all of the attorneys. All the attorneys said, good. This ADO, we're going to keep it. We're going to add in this line to modify it because of the federal overreach. We got this taken care of locally, and it still didn't pass. And so, like I said, it was 5-4, and that it failed. And if I had been on council, it would have been 5-4 to be approved, because our residents deserve our respect and our care. And again, it was such a low ask. It was such an easy ask of us. And that one that was attempted to be passed in November, it covered what our residents were asking for, and it also covered that federal that wasn't actually in question, but it was thought to be in question, and it covered that. Everybody was covered, and so that would have passed if I was on council.
Okay, and yeah, because the resolution pretty much puts everybody on the same playing field and says, you know what, we just don't.
The current one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. All right. So, in ending this, so here's your opportunity. like, why should they vote for Brittney? So give them your spiel.
Sure. So I'm born and raised here in Arlington. I love this city. I'm by Arlington, of Arlington, and for Arlington. I am running for Residents First Arlington because our people are our greatest asset, and they will be at the forefront of my mind with every vote, like they have not been in the past. And so I'm excited to give us a place where we can be excited to tell our friends and family that we live here. And so a vote for me would be a vote for our communities. It would be a vote for the future of Arlington, and I'm honored to be that.
All right. Well, it's almost over with. April 20th starts
10 days.
Oh gosh, man. And then May 2nd, right around the corner. So
Right. Early voting, April 20th to the 28th. Then May 2nd is Election Day.
yes.
Are you an Election Day voter? Some people love that.
No. I go during early voting.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I just like I just want. The thing is that we got to get more people out because it's
Right.
only been maybe, if we're lucky, 5%, which is to
5%
me
is crazy.
That's
right?
crazy because it's like local elections impact us the most.
Right.
They impact us the most, and I've been trying to get people out. I mean, I made something that said, 3 days. You got 3 hours in a whole year, 3 days in
Right.
a whole year, because local elections happen every year. And this year we have, runoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Novembers. So it's like, it's just 3 days out of your entire year.
Well, and I like to tell people that, there are a lot of votes coming up, right? There's our local election, the 20th to the 28th of April, and then Election Day, May 2nd. And then we do have the runoffs, and then we do have November. And, when I'm knocking on doors, people are like, oh, I'm getting them all confused. And what I tell them is that means we have more opportunity this year to make our voice heard. We have all of these opportunities to tell our leaders what we want, to have a say in this. We have more advocacy for ourselves this year than we have had in other years. And so use that. See that as a plus. See that as an opportunity to take your friends, to take your family to the polls, and be able to use your vote and your voice, right? That's the most American thing you can do is vote.
That's how things are getting done.
Right.
That's how they get done. So, yeah, I'm with you 100% there. So thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I'll be getting this out, and I'm trying to get everybody in as quickly as I can before early voting so that you guys can, show all of these videos that are going out. But
Great.
I really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So again, everybody, thank you guys for joining Truth Talk, and get out and vote. You guys need to get out and vote. Can't sit home, and I've said it many times, can't sit home and complain and just moan about it like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. If you didn't go and vote, that's all I got to say. So thanks again, everybody.
All right, guys, that wraps up today's episode of Truth Talk. Go ahead and like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're always the first to catch new episodes as they drop. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.